Lots of people have asked me how to get started making cocktails at home. Starting a home bar from scratch doesn't have to be complicated or expensive. Since I'm in the middle of a big bar cleanout, I'm going to get back to the bare basics and pretend I don't have a huge collection of bottles and gadgets in the basement. I'll be working at my kitchen table and starting with nothing. There are a lot of videos that go over the initial set of bottles to start a bar, but they don't take all the other equipment you need into consideration. I'm going to limit myself to spending $100. This is going to include not only the alcohol, but the glassware and very basic mixing equipment. I'll have to improvise and use some things I already have, since $100 won't go far when it comes to specialized ice molds, high-dollar Luxardo cherries, fancy mixing glasses, and other extras. Also, since sales tax is different everywhere and some countries don't even have it, I won't count that. Here in Tennessee, that means I'll actually be spending around $110. For the sake of brevity, I'll round up some prices instead of using precise numbers like $3.47 or $12.99. If we have fun at the $100 level, I'll make a second video of how to expand on that. If we spend another $100 later, we can get some more specialized tools and a couple more bottles to multiply the number of drinks we can make. I'm going to buy the alcohol that's the best value. For this, I suggest you choose 2 base spirits. Think of drinks you like or just drinks you're curious about and choose based on that. I'm going with bourbon and gin. For the bourbon, I'm going to use this bottle of Benchmark Foolproof. I got the 750ml bottle for only $15.99. For a barrel-proof bourbon, you aren't going to beat that price. It's a great entry point, and they're produced at the Buffalo Trace Distillery. Benchmark also offers lower proof options if you prefer. I'll be using New Amsterdam gin. It's not bad and it's only $12.99 a bottle. My go-to is normally Beefeater, but I'll save the $8 extra for other ingredients. Finally, I'm going to grab a bottle of sweet vermouth. I'm going with the Martini and Rossi 375ml. It's only $5.99 and will allow me to make Manhattans. Yeah, I might as well cough up another $6 for some dry vermouth since that introduces the possibility of martinis. That puts us at about $41. We can't exactly go on a bitters shopping spree with our budget, so I'm going to spend $13 on Angostura Bitters, bringing our spend up to $54. And bitters are like the seasonings of the cocktail world, and if you can only have one, Angostura is the way to go. It would be nice to have orange bitters as well, but I don't think that's going to be in the $100 budget. I'm going to set a $5 budget for citrus and budget $2 for a 1-pound box of sugar. We won't need the entire box of sugar, but it's the cheapest available, and I figured I should count it. Most people have it already, but again, I'm pretending we have nothing. This is also a good time to mention that buying ready-made simple syrup is not a good value. To make your own, just combine 1 part boiling water and 1 part sugar. Also, don't buy pre-made sweet and sour mix. Just make your own by using a combination of simple syrup and fresh citrus juices. That reminds me, we'll also need something to juice our citrus. This style of handheld juicer at $6 will do for now. Limes are very reasonable at 25 cents each right now. Lemons are 58 cents each. I'll get 4 lemons and 5 limes, and I'll use the last dollar of my citrus budget on an 88-cent orange. So with simple syrup, lemon juice, and lime juice, you can really do a lot. I'm also going to add honey at about $4 so I can make a bee's knees with gin and a gold rush with the bourbon. That brings our total spend to $72. I was originally going to make my ice in an insulated mug. You can make clear ice this way. There's a lot of videos on YouTube about that. But the mug I got wasn't quite right for it because it had a little indentation at the top and I couldn't get the ice out. So I used another method that I saw on Uncle Pete's Cocktail Shop where you can just take a plastic bottle and put it in a koozie, put it in the freezer for about 12 to 18 hours, and then you can just slice discs of clear ice. I'll also use a really basic ice mold since I hate the crescent ice that refrigerators make. You can get a good one for around $5. I'll leave some Amazon links to those in the description. And that brings us to $80. I went to the thrift store and spent $4 on all of these glasses. I got a nice old-fashioned glass, actually a set of two, a cool little Martini style glass, a couple coupes, and I especially like this glass because it's from a well-known tiki bar in Nashville that I've yet to visit, but I'd love to go there. But I'm sure buying the glass there would set you back more than 79 cents. Finally, I'll spend $2.27 on this Anchor Hocking measuring glass. I'd rather have a fancy Japanese style jigger, but this fits into our budget and will work just fine. I'll round up to $3, which brings our total to $87. I'm not gonna spend 25% of our budget on an expensive jar of Luxardo cherries, so I'll buy these great value cocktail cherries for $4. I'll get a set of toothpicks at the dollar store for $1.25. We'll round that up to $2 for simplicity's sake, bringing our grand total to $93. And while I'm in Walmart, I'll pick up some tonic water for gin and tonics, as well as some ginger beer for Kentucky Mules. It'll be nice to have a couple simple Highballs style beverages in our lineup. Oh look, a cocktail shake run clearance for $1. I guess I'll buy that. We landed at 102, but I did round up a few things for simplicity. So the first drink I'm gonna make on a budget is the Old Fashioned, and one of my favorite things about an Old Fashioned is getting like the big piece of clear ice. So I experimented quite a bit with Uncle Pete's like koozie method, and I think this little one will be the best for the small glasses I got. So I'm gonna use this guy. I'm gonna take it out and just let it temper for a minute while I prepare the rest of the drink, but it fits perfectly in there. And usually I have a fancy mixing glass I use for these, but if you're on a budget, anything can be a mixing glass, so I'm gonna just use this glass and a teaspoon. I'm just gonna put in 2 ounces of my benchmark. I'm gonna put a bar spoon / teaspoon of simple syrup. By the way, I didn't get this for this video, but this came from the dollar store as well. Obviously with an old fashioned, you can tailor the amount of sugar to your liking. Got some ice in my mold that I talked about earlier that I'll use for stirring. And I almost forgot the bitters. Yeah, the feel of this spoon, it's not as nice as my bar spoon. You can't give it like that. It doesn't have that nice like round feeling, but for the price, it's fine. And you probably already have it. We don't have orange bitters, but we do have our orange that we bought earlier. So I'm gonna take a little bit off the peel. I'm gonna put a couple of our great value cherries on one of these little frilled picks from the Dollar Tree. And I don't have any like fancy strainers yet because that wasn't in the budget, but I'm just gonna use this guy. And these glasses I picked up for 50 cents. They're quite a bit smaller than some others I've seen. I'm gonna drop my cherries in, the orange peel. Hey, and there's our budget old fashioned. See, while I got the whiskey out, I think maybe the next thing I'll make is a Manhattan. I'm gonna empty this out. For Manhattans, I usually use rye, but since we could just get one whiskey, I'm gonna use the Benchmark Foolproof for that. And I'm gonna do 2 ounces of this and 1 ounce of the sweet vermouth. Throw in a couple dashes of Angostura Bitters, a little of our mixing ice. This is making me wish I would have budgeted for an actual bar spoon. But I'll definitely be getting one of those when I bump up to the $200 level. So I'm gonna serve this one in a coupe and got it at the same thrift store, like super cheap. And I think I'm just gonna drop one of these Great Value cherries like right into it. So there's our second budget cocktail to Manhattan. Let's do a sour, like we could do a whiskey sour. So I'm gonna need to juice one of my lemons, and I'll use my little dollar shaker that I got the other day. I think I'll do just the classic like 2-on-1 ratio. So I'm gonna do 1 ounce of lemon juice, 2 ounces of the whiskey. And if you're new to this, you may wonder why I'm shaking some of them and stirring some of them. Since this one has citrus and some like non-booze ingredients, that's why I'm shaking it. Typically the ones that are all booze you stir. Also gonna put in like 1 ounce of simple syrup. And I'm gonna add some ice to my shaker. And normally I like the Boston style shaker, but since the cobbler shaker that includes the lid and strainer and everything was only $1, I went with that for this. So I think this will be like a super cool glass to serve the whiskey sour in, so I'm gonna pour it in here. That's perfect. These like older glasses seem like a lot smaller than the new ones, which is a good thing. I think they're like a better size for cocktails. I'm gonna throw in one of those budget cherries. And here's our whiskey sour. So the cool thing about sours is if you know the recipe for one, you know the recipe for a lot of them. So let's do a sour that has gin in it. How about a gimlet? That's 2 parts gin, 1 part lime juice, 1 part simple syrup. Say you wanted to get rum as one of your spirits, sub the rum for the gin, and you've got a daiquiri. Okay, for the gimlet, we're gonna do what I just said. 2 ounces of gin. I'll also take like a piece of this lime for a garnish. Okay, for the next one, let's do the Martini. I've actually used up all of my like Martini and coupe style glasses, but I can make one in here. That's what this video is all about, kind of like working with what you have. So we'll do 2 ounces of gin, and we'll do ½ an ounce of the dry vermouth. Another thing, always refrigerate your vermouth after you open it. And some people like less vermouth. You know, it's kind of a matter of personal preference and something fun to experiment with. I usually do orange bitters, but those will have to wait for another day. I think I'll just do a couple drops of Angostura, and again, this is a stirred drink. And I'm touching the ice with my hands because I'm at home and it's okay. So I'm left with 1 more glass. I think I'm gonna just use that for a gin and tonic. Super simple. I've got the tonic water, I've got the ginger beer, so if you were having people over, like, they can mix these themselves. I would just mix the bourbon with the ginger beer and the gin with the tonic. So there's another 2 drinks. And the big bottles of tonic and ginger beer might be more economical, but if you're just making a drink for yourself, the cans might be more economical because it's just like less waste. For $100, this lineup of drinks is nothing to sneeze at. We've got some classic cocktails with gin and whiskey. So we've got a Manhattan, an old fashioned, and a whiskey sour. And say you wanted to learn another drink, make some honey simple syrup, put it in a whiskey sour, you've got a gold rush. Do the same thing with gin, you've got a bee's knees. But today we kept it basic. We went with the gin martini, a gimlet, and a gin and tonic. If you want to know even more drinks that you can make with this limited budget, go to makemeacocktail.com, punch in the ingredients you have. It'll tell you all the drinks you can make. There are even a few on there I hadn't heard of. And if it wasn't the middle of the day and I wasn't out of glasses, I'd probably keep going. But let's taste these and see how they are. That's a good Manhattan. Super high proof. This stuff's 125 proof. Works really well in this. The whiskey sour, I went with the basic 2-1-1 ratio. Now normally when I make a whiskey sour, I'll do like 2 ounces of the whiskey and then 0.75 of the simple syrup and lemon juice, but since I'm using this foolproof stuff, I thought the 2-1-1 would be just right. And it is, that's a tasty drink. I think this being only 40%, I probably should have done 2.75, 0.75. But it's still good. Those are gin martini. I wish I would have had another coupe and I wish I had some orange bitters, but only had $100. Pretty good. And the old fashioned, my ice is already melting. I've taken too long to make this video, but that looked like pretty cool before the ice melted. It's starting to dilute it, but the high proof benchmark is holding up really well. And a nice light and refreshing gin and tonic. The Q tonic water is good. Nice, like cheap, easy drink, like all of these. Let me know in the comments below how you'd spend the $100. When I go up to $200, what should I buy? What would you buy? If you made it this far, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.